hi there, racing fans, and welcome to another edition of Winning Ways, where Laff and I are in the studio, and it's a Monday morning, very early and very dark outside, and very miserable we are. Extremely miserable.
Spurs.
Spurs. You're miserable because of Spurs?
I'm miserable because of Spurs. You know, it's just, if I could have a moment, just to tell you that I went to bed straight off. They got thumped 5-0. They were rubbish.
Did you sleep?
I slept like a baby.
No bad dreams?
Crying every 50 minutes.
Didn't see a few defensive errors in your dreams?
James, it's just not good enough. You know, I know we don't want a knee-jerk reaction and just fire the manager. We'll see what happens against West Ham in the week. But you can't spend 109 million. You sell 105 million. So your balance, you're only in for 4 million. They buy players to replace Bell. They don't play them. He can't get a side together. I don't think there's a top English manager who's caught a 6-0 and a 5-0 in the history of the game in the same month. We've got both. It's just not good enough.
So what is the problem?
They're not playing for him, that's one. They're prima donnas. They all know they're expensive. The team changes every week. When we haven't got Vertonghen, they are rubbish. You know, Billy Bunter's got better shape at the back than when Vertonghen doesn't play. Yeah. Across the middle, they've got so many players.
They've got more across the middle than you and I've got.
Yeah,
across our middles.
Yeah, they got more.
They got a whole lot across the
James,
middle.
We didn't have one creative chance. We know. We were complete.
Without Defoe, I don't think that you got any strike force at all.
Listen, Defoe's had a couple of games. He's getting no service, you know.
Well, when the middle's as big as our middles, that's what happened.
Yeah,
listen, I'm not very happy either. I got 5-3.
Which who you support?
Didn't you watch Saturday's game? Arsenal, Manchester City.
Didn't you see the sixth goal? You didn't see the sixth goal?
Georgia, no, I turned the TV
6-3. But at least Wenger's still top of the log. His team scored 3. Yeah. Spurs don't look like scoring. They don't look like doing
anything. And we were away from home. You were at home.
We caught it at home. But I remember they said that joke. AVB's wife woke him up the other day and said, "You're going to be late for work at 7." And he said, "If they scored again." Well, now Wenger's got the same wake-up call from his wife. "Darling, you're going to be late for work at 7. They've scored again." So I think Norwich got 7, Spurs got 6. Man City looked great at home.
They did look good. Yeah, but away from home, they're not so good.
They're a bit suspect. They're a good league. Yeah. Liverpool are looking very good. Liverpool proved they can play without players like Daniel Sturridge.
And Captain
Gerrard,
yeah.
You know, and they can go out and do. Yeah. And Spurs,
I thought without Gerrard they wouldn't be the same side. But that guy Suarez, you can see why we chased him
best
the whole
striker in the world.
We chased him like, didn't Arsenal chase him for 3 months to try and get him?
Best striker.
Imagine how he'd be with Ozil.
He's just different division, division. But my beloved Spurs, I hope they don't have a knee-jerk reaction and get rid of AVB just yet. Lose to West Ham first before they fire him.
Well, you're not very happy. Graham Hawkins is not very happy.
Neil Andrews
is extremely unhappy. Joe Soma's
they're good Spurs boys. And the humble hero has always been a Spurs boy. I've got a lot of my football mates that I grew up with the Spurs boys. And, you know, you just can't keep making excuses. You can't spend that type of money and not produce the goods. We're not going to make a top 4 like this. But they didn't fire Moyes, and he's 2 points behind us. The Man United, they're 2 points behind Spurs, and they haven't fired Moyes.
Well, all I can say is that this is not a bad racing show. If you like football,
a bit of golf.
You're getting all the inside info. But we're going to go on straight to the 3 to follow. We've got a couple of good ones this week. Enjoy them. Right, let's go into our 3 to follow, and we're going to Kenilworth during the week. My goodness gracious, the Platinum team, Yogas Governor, stepped out a filly that looked superb going to the start, and she drifted like a barge in the betting, but she came home like a good one.
This was a very impressive win. The horses that chased her home looked useful, the girls who were running behind her. She was slow out, she was off them. But once they asked her to quicken, she quickened like a decent horse. This is one you've got to follow. Good Girl Flies.
Let's go and have a look at her. At the start, she absolutely makes a hash of it completely. Young Domea rides her. We'll pick her up when Raymond's ready, but we're waiting for him, and you know, it's very hard to keep talking. There you go.
Yeah.
Right in the middle of the field, correct. Behind the horse with the white cap.
It's lost.
Good Girl Flies is stone last.
Yeah, this was a good debut because there was support for a couple of horses here. Denison looks a good horse, Dean Canamayo's, and the third horse looks a decent horse. But here it is, you can see it now at the back of the screen in the Platinum Silks. 6-7 lengths off, James.
Yeah, at least they're going a nice easy pace. He pulls her out to the middle, which is the right thing to do. And she's absolutely cantering with him here. She's going really, really well. And I think that it's just a matter of pressing the button.
Yeah, he's got her into a nice position. I think the runner-up does come from behind her as well. But at one stage, I thought House of Lorraine would run a really big race. But look, here she comes off the middle. When he asks her to run, this is a debut run for the daughter of Trippy. She put them to bed here, James.
Yeah, and really under absolute hands ride the last 200. You see him just showing her the stick, but asking her to go on and do it as a first timer. This is impressive. She's got a beautiful pedigree, this filly, and I think that she'll go on to be a very, very nice filly. They just keeping her on the job. She's actually got them completely unextended. I think that she won a good race.
Nice name too. Good Girl Flies.
Good Girl Flies. She's out of Bad Girl Runs. You remember Bad Girl
Very
Runs?
Very good. Group 1 winning filly,
yeah,
I think. Yeah.
So there you go. So that shows you pedigree does come to the fore. We're going to go to Turfentine, 14th of December. Remember, we've had no racing in KwaZulu-Natal. And we pick out a horse that was rumoured, first leg of the Pick 6, fourth race, rumoured to be the business. The Alexanders trained this filly, Kobe, named after Kobe Tadmore. And
not Kobe Bryant, okay.
No.
Okay, sorry.
Not Conan O'Brien.
No, look. Okay. Well, let's go and have a look at this race because it hasn't got a good draw again. And Robbie Fred has elected to ride it ahead of Sisters of Mercy.
Yeah, she's got the pink colours and she's towards the outside and she tucks in behind now. Pink colours with a black armband. She's now right behind, she's about 5 from the back, 3 off the fence.
Yes.
You can see her now starting to move upside the horse in the lime green colours. She's behind the one of St. John Gray's. Pink colours, black armband. You pick her up there, that's Kobe.
Yeah, that's right. I'd heard when I was listening to the show that Robbie Fred had elected to ride this ahead of the horse who's in 5th year, which Gunther Vrocheman had picked up for Jeff Woodruff, called Sisters of Mercy, who's got the white face, the red sleeves on the fence, 3 back on the fence, who eventually wins it. But Apple Tart had form as well, St. John's horse.
Yeah, well, she's got very good form. She's always been there or thereabouts. What amazed me about Sisters of Mercy, she's by Gray's Inn, Sisters of Mercy, and she was looking for this trip. And Fred jumped off the stable elect because that's his stable. Woodruff, he rides for them predominantly. And here he is now about 5 off the left of the right of your picture, moving out for a run. Now she's 2 off the left of your picture, and Sisters of Mercy is cruising through the middle. She's got about 5 lengths to make up on her, and she's never going to get there because here Sisters of Mercy puts them all to bed.
Correct. Sister of Mercy. Gunther's timed it perfectly. He's gone past Apple Tart. You're looking across because we're thinking Kobe's coming, but Kobe runs on very nicely. Now, she's APR. Isn't this distinguished as half-sister?
This is distinguished half-sister. She's out of Dignify, who I think, if memory serves me correct, Michael Azzi trained.
Correct.
She won a group
for his brother,
won
I
a
think.
Group 1 here at KwaZulu-Natal on July Day.
Very good form. So there, runs on well. I just think it's had 2 runs, 2 bad draws, and this is the horse that you've got to stay with. I think won't be longer winning, and you saw she had the ability up the stretch.
Right, we're going to move on and have a look at a Wild One. Same day, Turfentine. This was the feature on the day, or the big race on the day. And we thought it was well worth having a look at this horse. He's been transferred to Ormond Ferraris. He's still owned by Jeffrey and Sean Phillips.
That's right.
Jeff Friedman and Sean Phillips. And he looks like he might be well suited to this long straight at Turfentine. He could be a big runner in the
Jeff
Champions
trained
Cup.
him, he ran well up there. And I
Champions
think
Cup horses, I think.
Sorry?
Champions Cup might be his.
Yeah, he's a tough horse. He's
a
a tough horse, and Ormond will get to the bottom of this horse.
I said Champions Cup.
Yes.
No, not tough. Okay.
Beg your pardon?
Okay.
What are you on about? Gee.
I said this horse might be a Champions Cup horse, which is in the end of April, run at Turfentine. This might be the horse to follow for that race.
Okay, James
Lap will
said
get with
Champions Cup horse. And you got it, guys? James has pushed his point here.
Yeah.
But Wild One is the horse that we're going to show you. And it's an interesting race because Julius Schmieber works hard to get this horse Kagiva home when it looked, for all intents and purposes, like Killua Castle was going to win. But it's in Sean Phillips's colours, yellow and red. You remember seeing the 2 goons on the Vodacom Durban July in their yellow suits. They look like lost canaries. But do you think they've got
They
rid of
ended
those
up
suits?
like lost canaries. No cage, nothing.
No, no.
Completely.
Yeah, okay, here we go. Let's go have a look at this one. This is our third one for you. Yeah, there we go. It's got the yellowish blinkers as well. Easy to pick out. Gets a nice jump out the gates. And Francois Herald's riding it. He's covering up. Your winner is in Chris Fanica's colours with the noseband, and the runner-up's in red and yellow, one off the back on the inside fence. But doesn't have much luck in running Wild One after a good break, James. Always seems to be deep.
Yeah, he is deep, and if you look back at his form, you'll see that he's run half a length to Wiley Hall, and then a length and 3/4 to Wiley Hall. He ran pretty well in the Daily News. I think he's quite a good little horse. He's by Magok.
He is a good horse.
And you probably find that the type of race I'm talking about might be the wrong one.
Yeah, I forgot what the name of the race you were mentioning, but he certainly doesn't get the luck in running where he's out there. Francois keeps him out there. He's wide. As we've repeated, the winner is in third on the fence, who runs a very resolute gallop up the stretch. But the horse that everyone liked, Kalua Castle, is not in the picture yet. It's in red and yellow. And this canters up to win and starts wandering in the finish. But
he quickens up well, Kalua Castle,
Yes.
doesn't he? He's a horse. I think that he's the boys at him to keep him in position. But watch how quickly he gets in the race. Wild One's getting scrubbed along on the pulled to the outside now. Kalua Castle's going down through the inside. He makes 3 or 4 lengths on Sajiva,
Yes.
which ends up winning the race. But he canters past him.
yeah, Wild One's trying to get it blowing up the inside. Now Francois got this little horse, Wild One, galloping up the middle of the track. And here, Kalua Castle's going to win this race. There's no doubts in most people's mind. The favourite's home. Robbie's timed it perfectly. They're fighting for second. Suddenly it runs the inside fence.
Yeah, now he veers back off the inside fence. Now he veers back onto the inside fence. He's giving him a terrible time. And that gives the others a chance to pounce. And I think that Sajiva, as I say, won a very nice race. It might be a very good form pointer, this race,
I agree
for
with you.
big races to come.
I agree.
So that's it as far as the 3 to follow are concerned. We're going to go and have a look at the blast from the past where, surprisingly, we got the 2010 Cape Guineas. So we went backwards in time, but don't worry about it. It was quite a good winner. And this horse ended up a champion in Mauritius. So take a thought back to the 2010 Cape Guineas. Leff and I will talk about the Cape Guineas later, which comes up this Saturday, the Burger King, I think it is, or Grand West Parade, Grand Parade.
Yeah.
Hassan's
Grand Parade, something like that.
Grand Parade,
And,
Cape Guineas.
Wonderful again, these new
Burger
sponsorships.
Kings, they've
Burger
got-
King,
yeah,
that's
we
Hassan Adams. Well
yeah.
done to all of them.
Yeah.
And it's always a great race.
Oh, this year I think is a fantastic race. We'll discuss the field later. Let's have a look at the 2010 Cape Guineas.
And fired away. Il Saggiatore missed the kick. He lost a length or 2, but Wolf on the Fold landed running and goes up to lead them. King Fahim is going up handy. Kavanagh is right there along the inside, disputing the early lead. Lucky Moon is on their far side, and they followed by Greenkeeper. Milord's Throat is deep on the outside of runners. He's going around them all to try and get a better position. Solo Travelers now settled about 6 off them. Copper Parade is racing in behind that. Then comes Brilliant Cut. Water Winter's being ridden with restraint. He's back 8-9 lengths off the lead. Il Saggiatore is racing towards the back of the field. Run for it just in front of that one. Over the crossover they go, and King Fahim takes the field along. He has it by a length and a half. Milord's Throat's gone up to race in second. Lucky Moon behind that tracks them in third. Kavanagh's back at the fence, racing in fourth and 4 lengths off the lead as they went by the 800. Wolf on the Fold races further back. Greenkeeper's just in behind that one. They being followed further back on the outside by Brilliant Cut, who scored very wide on that turn as they straighten up now and hit for home with 600 metres left to go. Down towards the inside, King Fahim is still in front. Milord's Throat, the first one to put on pressure. Kavanagh races just in behind the leaders. What a Winter, meantime, is starting to unleash his effort in the centre. He has 4 to make up. He's starting to run on nicely. They come down to the final 300. Down towards the inside, Kavanagh's come forward to pick it up. What a Winter's chasing hard, and Solo Traveller races in behind that. Milord's Throat's not done for yet. It's an open call, but Kavanagh's come to the front. What a Winter and Solo Traveller. And Solo Traveller now has come to the advantage. Solo Traveller, Run For It, is flying from behind, but Solo Traveller's won it from Run For It. Kavanagh was back in third. Piranha behind that was in fourth. They were followed by Milord's Throat. What a Winter never went on with his effort. They were then followed further back by Greenkeeper.
Well, there you go. If you look at the race, a couple of horses that turned out very disappointing in the race, and a couple of really good
ones. Yeah, some Group 1 winners. You know, Copper Parade, obviously, What a Winter. I think Top Seller won the Derby. Kavanagh went overseas. Solo Traveller went overseas. Piranha was a very, very good horse.
Very disappointing.
He had a mind of his own. Very disappointing. I agree with you. Castlethorpe was a very good horse too. And further down, there were horses that never really went on with them. I don't know some of these horses where they ended up, but it's always a good field, James.
Well, Copper Parades ended up a multiple group of
he won a
very good horse. And What a Winter, both of them, neither of them really stayed. But Run For It has been... He's a
seriously good horse, a seriously good bridesmaid.
Yeah.
Seriously good horse, Run For It. Solo Traveller was a good horse. Kavanagh went with Michael to Dubai, didn't he?
Dubai, yeah.
Yeah, went over there to try his luck. Piranha, Milord's Throat. I always think it's a great race, the Cape Guineas, and in current affairs we'll talk about this year's race because it looks like another great race.
I think it's one of the best races this year that we've ever seen. One of the best fields there's ever been as far as real class is concerned. There's only one horse missing from it. But let's move on, and we're going to go and have a look at a race overseas, and we'll be back with Plum of the Week.
Distinct set of 2 groups of horses over here. One down the inside led by the favourite Sharp Design, heading it with Strong Mind on that side. On the near side is Jade Bay from Midnight Serenade. Then comes She's a Stunner. Magico's got 2 or 3 to make up. Then Cosmogenic and Carlito Brigante. It's Sharp Design kicking clear to the 300-metre marker, has the advantage from Jade Bay on the outside. Then comes Magico. It's Sharp Design right down the inside. She's a Stunner and Jade Bay on the outside. Sharp Design has a very good advantage here. And it's Sharp Design down the inside that'll go on and score by 3 lengths. Second, Jade Bay. Third, She's a Stunner. Magico fourth. Then Cosmogenic, Midnight Serenade.
Well, this looked like an absolute blinder. And if you're looking for a Plum of the Week, this was it. This horse should have been odds on. He was odds against. You could have got 16 to 10 on Interbet, as much as you liked. And really was a very, very nice bet.
Yeah, he's a very decent horse.
Yeah, top class horse. Very good at turf and teen. And... the old man, as we love to call him, Ormond Ferraris, the elder statesman.
Great trainer.
He still tunes him up, turns him out, pulls him together, gets the guys going, gives everyone a hard time. Lovely to have him around. And whenever I arrive at Turventine, there he is sitting in his chair, the chairman's chair.
I always make a point of saying hello to him when I see him having a cup of tea.
I try not to.
Oh, do you? No, well, I've always got a lot of time for him. He's a wonderful trainer.
Anyway, good on you, Ormond. The Plum of the Week goes to you this week, and we're going to go and move on and have a look at current affairs, where we've got 2 very good races from Cape Town.
Right, welcome to Current Affairs, and as James just alluded to, that there are only feature races run down in Cape Town. We had the Premier Trophy, and we had the Victress Stakes, and great success for Dennis Dry in that. And James, let's talk about the Premier Trophy, because it's quite a useful pointer, and Dennis Dry has brought on Master My Fate and Fine Style.
Yeah, I think that this horse is a pretty good horse. I thought when I first saw him, he probably needed gelding.
Got well beaten by a good horse first time.
Yeah.
Aldrich, James Goodman.
We got the cash too.
I think there's probably a street between them now.
No, well, I haven't gone around the bend with Aldrich.
You are around the bend. Forget Aldrich around the bend. But
let me tell you this, Master of My Fate. I thought he'd need gelding. He's very big and bullish, and he was quite naughty to begin with, but he's settled down into a really, really good racehorse.
James, the key of the matter is that a lot of people must have liked him because he went for 3 million.
Yeah.
And by the late champion stallion Jetmaster, out of a wonderful family. So a Fastfontein bred, there was a lot of interest in him. And invariably, you get a lot of expensive horses that don't map out. And this is one that's mapping out. And he seems to be getting better. Would that be accurate?
Absolutely. And I think Sean Terry bought him. And
did he?
Yeah, Sean bought him, and he was very disappointed to lose the horse. And the horse came to Dennis, and his first run was for Dennis.
Now the owner did pass away, didn't he? And his wife
that was
runs
afterwards. Yeah.
Yes.
He ran for his first race was for Dennis.
For Dennis. I've watched him in the morning, Jay. They say he's a big, beautiful horse, and they've taken their time with him. And there's talk of the Met.
Yeah. When you look at this, he probably got this field stone cold in the Met. There's nothing here that would give him.
Well, Hill 54 placed in the Met, and that got a good hiding from this horse. What I liked about this horse, James, when I listened to Sean Cormack's interview after the race, and he said things didn't go right at the gate. So Plan B came into action, and he said he turned for him, he was travelling so well, he let him run quite early, and he went straight past him, James. Sign of a good horse.
I think let's go and pick it up, because it's a very interesting race. He's in the blue and white colours of the Papa Georges. Good horses.
Gates fly, they are sent on their way. Nice level beginning, just a couple dropping in behind. Part of Familius early on, and Disco Al is also dropping in behind runners as they sort themselves out for an early leader. It's Brown Penny who's acting as the hare, and Brown Penny goes to lead it from Hill 54 racing in second, and No Worries tugging with the rider is settling back in third. Seal is racing a neck away outside of that one. Then it's One Cool Dude and Master of My Fate. In behind them comes Jeppy's Reef about 5 lengths off the lead. Awesome Power is in behind that one. Part of Familius further back, and Gifted for Glory races just in behind him. Run for It is settling a dozen lengths off the lead. Disco Owl is in behind that one. Punta Arenas is racing back one from last, and Hot Ticket is the trailer, and 15 lengths would cover them. They move to the crossover. They have 1,000 metres left to go, and Brown Penny is out on the lead. Hill 54 racing second. No Worries back at the rail is racing third. Seal is in behind that fourth. One Cool Dude is just in behind the leaders. Master of My Fate is poised to have a crack at them. He's about 4 lengths off them. Awesome Powers along his inside. Jeppy's Reef is just in behind that. Then Gifted for Glory. Part of Familius races 7 lengths off the leader. Disco Owl races further back behind that. Then comes Run For It behind that. Hot Ticket and Punta Arenas. Homeward bound, they're off the false rail. The race is on in earnest now, and Brown Penny quickly challenged by No Worries, who slips through down on the inside rail. Hill 54 is racing wider out. Master of My Fate is now starting to unwind his run as they come down to the final 300. No Worries has picked it up. Master of My Fate now pours under pressure up the outside, and it's Master of My Fate who's come to take the lead. Racing in behind that, One Cool Dude trying to get after them. Part of Familius kicking on behind that, but Master of My Fate is out in front, and he's clear as they come to the final 100. Master of My Fate from Hill 54 and Part of Familius, and Master of My Fate too good. Hill 54 second, Part of Familius. Hot Ticket flashed from the back of the field to get up for fourth. In behind them, One Cool.
Well, the way this horse quickened up, he might be very, very good.
Yeah.
And
Fastfontein stud, very, very strong
it's out
stud.
of a Grade 1 winning mare as well. Promise from My Heart.
Yeah.
She was top class. It's one of those Fastfontein families that I think Tony Kalmanson really started.
This might be a case of give your horses a chance, bring them out later.
Yeah.
Because he's 4.
Yeah.
He's only had those few runs. What's it? His 6th run now. He's won 5, and he was beaten by the champion Aldrich. So he's got a wonderful.
Keep harping on that. People will be backing this horse, Aldrich.
We're waiting for you to go around the bend with it.
He'll send you round the bend.
But James, they did talk about the Met.
Yeah.
Would the Queen's Plate come into? Would they go back to the mark?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I think Dennis would prepare him for the Met now. I think that that looks like it's right on his radar. The horse that ran second in the Met last year.
Correct.
I don't know that there can be much that can happen here. It will be interesting to see how the handicappers rate this race and where they find the line horse. Because if they make the line horse Hill 54, then it changes the whole thing. Because Run For It couldn't have run to his form. If you look at him, he's 110. He was receiving weight from Hill 54, who's 100 he's 111, 110,
10.
hill 54. He was receiving 2 kilos. So you've got to believe that that's the
What do you think? He went into the race as a 91.
Yeah.
What do you think he'll be? Hard to tell.
Yeah.
Wait and see.
If you're handicapping them on the race itself and the way the race is set up, I would think that he's got to be over 100.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, because he came in.
The trouble is that the Met's a conditions race, which might suit him very, very nicely. I think this might be the right horse for the Met, funnily enough.
Yeah, very good horse. You can't knock him. When you keep winning, you can't knock him. Well, they had another race in the day, and it gained a great success for our friend Dennis Dreyer and Sean Cormack. And this is a race that a lot of accolades have got to be heaped upon Sean Cormack. It was an excellent ride. He had a slight pull in the weight with, Hammy's Hooker, who I thought was going straight by.
Yeah.
And let's have a look at the race and let's get your take.
We've got the last 600 only. We've only got the last 600. It's a grade 3. But let's go and have a look at the 2 protagonists are in front.
Dubai Gina and Hijacked race just in behind that. Dancing Dynasty, the green, shows up further back. Nonky Poo is back along there inside. They followed by Silver Holly racing back 1 from last. And Super Elegant will corner at the back of the field. They're about to sprint in the stretch now. They straighten up for the run to the line with 600 metres left to go, and Priceless Jewel brought the field for home. She's out in front by a length and a half, but Jetta Glow quickly moves alongside her, can wait no more and comes forward to take it up. Schism and Counter 10 are in behind that. Hammy's Hooker now gets out after the leader. Dubai Gina is unwinding a run up the outside, but Jetta Glow has come to the front now. She's left Priceless Jewel along the inside. Hammy's Hooker looks a big danger up the outside. She's starting to unwind a good-looking effort. Jetta Glow is fat to the boards. Here comes Hammy's Hooker the outside. It's Hammy's Hooker and Jetta Glow. They've pulled many lengths clear. Hammy's Hooker nearest us. Jetta Glow comes back for more down the inside, and Jetta Glow came back to win it from Hammy's Hooker. Dubai Gina was in behind that. Priceless Jewel. Then behind that one, Dancing.
Well, what a tremendous ride from Sean Cormack there. Absolutely masterful. Put the horse in the right place at the right time. Got tackled by Hammy's Hooker, and I think Hammy's Hooker probably went a head up on her.
It could have been. It looked that way. Sean had sent his horse at the right time, as it turned out. And I really thought young Mr. Finikirk had got a beautiful split, timed it well, 400 to go, 2 lengths to make up, cruised up, made those 2 lengths up in a furlong, and just had to go on with it. There was a slight difference in weights, but not that much. I think about 2.5 or something like that in that region. So it was a good run by Hammy's Hooker, but a superb ride by Sean Cormack.
Absolutely top draw ride, Sean Cormack. And
Jetmaster again, James.
Jetmaster double, Dennis Dreyer double. Well, the
Col
only
de
thing
Vos.
that they called a Foss from Fontaine, so
big for the farm.
The only thing that you can say is that lucky Dennis Dreyer went down there, because he's brightened up the season a bit. Can you imagine these guys will be racing against each other and pushing their chests out? Dennis went down there and showed them a thing or two.
Yeah, we got a few Natal boys going down there, going to show them up. Duncan Howes isn't doing too badly. And it's good. It's always good for competition, and builds up to. We're going to have a wonderful Cape season, James. When we've got those big races coming up, the big sprints are coming up. We've got obviously the Queen's Plate to come, and the Met. These are great races.
Yeah. Well, as you say, we're going to talk about the Guineas, and now's probably a good time to talk about it. It's a big race on Saturday.
Yeah, James. I don't know about your take, but I've had a look at the betting, and I went and looked, and I thought, rightly so, Captain America has done very little wrong. He's come through.
Well, he beat Red Ray last time, so that's why he's at the top of the board.
Yeah, and Red Ray's second favourite. There's not much between them. Now they've got Forest Indigo.
Well, you see, they don't rate him. It's the same. KwaZulu-Natal, that's where he did his damage. Alec Laird trains him.
He's a top horse, James. And with all due respect to the others, I think Forest Indigo, even from that bad draw, will beat this field. I think he's the best 3-year-old. Him and Koshka have proved it. There's not much between them. And Koshka's missing from this race. The right selected another route to take. But this, for me, and I'll stick my neck out. I'll stick my chin out here. This horse will win the big race, Forest Indigo.
Well,
what do you think?
Interesting race, because the 2 big horses, Willow Magic and Kochka, are not there.
Yes. But
you look at this field. This is a very, very good field indeed.
Wouldn't you?
And if you add Willow Magic and Kochka, then you have got a fantastic
the best around. Yeah, I agree with you, James. But Red Ray is a very good horse. Captain America is a superb horse. Done everything right. Keeps finding. Whistle Stop, very, very good horse, James.
Whistle Stop
De
might
Kock,
be the
Legitimate,
key. Yeah.
Power King, Speed Rocket. These are good horses, James.
Yeah.
Can they win the bottom
I
four?
think the Cock will win it.
With Whistle Stop. So I'm completely, I might have egg on my face come next Saturday or whenever
You've
it
been
is.
talking too much to that helicopter flyer. That's
The
your
helicopter
trouble.
flyer is still a great jockey, and the helicopter flyer likes this horse a lot. One's just got to have a look when he lost to Kochka, how things went wrong, and how things went wrong when he beat Kochka. They're two superb horses. And as you say, Sean Terry's horse is a very, very good horse. Willow Magic, the Aussie horse. So I think Captain America's team will be confident. Red Ray will be confident. Forest Indigo will be confident. Whistle Stop, and it just turns out to be one of the races of the season, James.
It's going to be fun.
Can I ask you who you think might win? Or are you going to leave your cards?
At this moment in time, I think it's one of the most difficult races to work out. But it's a type of race where you've got to sit down and work through the form lines and come to a conclusion.
The draws.
And at this stage, I think any one of 6 horses can win it. I don't think it's a matter of 2 horses or 3 horses. I think that there might be 5 or 6 in the race that can win it. When you look at the betting, you've got to believe that it is quite an open race.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
up to
It's nearly
6
3
to
1
1,
the
there are
field,
4
yeah.
horses that can win. And what in the back of my mind is that I know that Whistle Stop is quite highly thought of.
Yeah.
And he's 4th favourite.
Yeah, correct. It's
Interesting to see.
Interesting.
And
So
you're going to
also-
have to work out the form lines. As I say, Willow Magic might be the best form horse and be able to work through the form lines with him. I want to see how the Cock fits in, because I think he's a big improver, this horse, and I think he's going to be better over the mile.
Yeah,
So-
Brett Crawford certainly got himself a nice bunch of 3-year-olds, as has Alec Led.
Yeah, they both got very nice 3-year-olds.
Yeah,
Money, it shows you. Spend money, you're going to buy some horses.
interesting
and
for
these
the
guys know
stallions,
what
you
they're
know,
doing.
Captain L, Judd Pot, you know, they got some very interesting stallions in there as well, James. It promises to be a great race, and I can see you sitting on the fence until a later date. Let's hope I manage
I'll
to...
tell you next week.
I'll come worm it out of you before the race. But I'm Forest Indigo mad. I think it's also... His win in Cape Town the other day was as good as you'll see.
Right, there's only one other bit of news. The Argentines run their big race, which is the
Pellegrini.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good race. And I don't know the stallion or the horse. Soy Carambola won
Yeah,
it. Do you know?
he's a very good horse, and he's a 6-year-old now. He's by Val Royale, and listen, it's one of those races. They had their noses put out of joint last year because the Brazilians came and won it. So they
right.
hate that. Okay?
They don't like that, yeah.
And there were Brazilians, Uruguayans, and Chileans in the race, but they came to the fore. One with probably the right horse. He was ridden by Noriega, who's one of the top jockeys there. Sanchez trained the horse. Suarez trained the horse, not Luis Suarez.
No.
But
Don't mix that
another
name, James.
Suarez, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a big race there. The whole nation stops, the same as they do for the Melbourne Cup, and we do for
It's
the
massive in
July.
Argentina. Yeah, massive.
It's a big race.
So they all toasting Soy Carambola today.
Soy Carambola, he won it, 6-year-old entire, and good luck to them. Hope they had a good day's racing. It's always a good day in Argentina racing. If you ever, on your bucket list, if you ever want to go and do anything,
Yes.
and you love racing, you've got to go to one of those big meetings at Paloma. in
I heard they
Argentina.
train a lot of horses without saddles. Is that true?
Most of them, yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, they ride so well, those guys. It's not even. Well, they've been on horses since they were born.
Yeah. You went out there to play polo, eh?
Yeah, I had a saddle though. So I got to make sure. Not quite as good
Aren't
as
they
them.
the best in the world on polos?
Most definitely the best in the world.
Best in the
I think that them and the Irish are the best horsemen in the world. you know.
Okay. Well,
There's a toss-up between the two.
Lafferty's Irish.
Yeah.
Shay, Lafferty, good Irish names.
Shay's
Don't forget.
the
Horseman to
helicopter,
the marrow.
the helicopter flyer.
The helicopter.
We got Peter Gibson. Okay, let's
You
get.
got any tough questions for him?
Yeah,
Because
we
we
got a
need
couple
some
of
answers.
Well, he's going to give us the answers. He's been kind enough to come and join us. He's been putting it off for 6 months, but at last we got him here.
Well, I suppose he's been waiting for answers.
Well,
Do you
he's
think he's
been-
got the answers?
Well, we'll find out in a moment. So let's go and see what happens in your call with Peter Gibson. Well, welcome back to Current Affairs, from Current Affairs to Your Call. And this is a very interesting and long expected Your Call show. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you, Peter Gibson. Nice to have you in the studio.
Thank you, James.
The CEO of Racing South Africa. You're the man that everyone looks to when, having spoken to Mike de Kock this morning for a bit of time, he told me that his horses that he sent in July arrived last week in Dubai.
Correct.
Not by his doing.
What a tragedy, but an indictment on the situation here.
Okay, so you're in charge of the situation. Why are we like this?
Well, I mean, in a nutshell, we have a disease that nobody wants. That's African horse sickness. We're endemic for the disease. Secondly, the conditions which were negotiated with the European Union in '97 are not being complied with by South Africa. Let's call it broadly that. And until such time as we get our house in order, we're not going to find trading partners that are willing to accept the so-called risk of importing horses from what they deem to be an infected country.
You mentioned something very important, not complied with. Why are they not being complied with?
Well, I think the EU audit, which we'll obviously go into more detail, gave a snapshot as to the current state of affairs in terms of South African agricultural exports, because it's not only horses that we're not able to export, it's red meat, it's ostrich meat, which have different diseases, but at the underlying concerns is that government, Department of Agriculture, are not able to meet the minimum compliance required by importing countries. And until that is resolved, and it goes back to a number of fundamental issues, one of which is constitutional, because the provinces have a certain degree of autonomy, and therefore they can make decisions outside of the policies determined by the national government. And then, of course, it's been able to enforce the laws which exist in the land. And until such time as those fundamentals are resolved, it's very hard for importing countries to believe that South Africa is doing what they say they're doing, or supposed to be doing. So I think the EU audit report really gave a status report on South Africa's exports within the agricultural sector as a whole. It's not only horses. I think we need to put that into perspective. It is a tragedy because a healthy, vibrant export environment across the board is essential for any country. And the South African context, agriculture plays a huge role. We have to resolve this. But it's going to require a huge amount of effort and focus within government before private sector contributions can actually make a difference.
So now, from being all the regulations that we had in place, it has now become a government problem more than anything else.
It's always been a government problem, because governments ultimately negotiate protocols between each other. It's not private sector. Private sector supports, provides funding, provides resource, provides skills. And if you look at our AHS controls, I mean, with the funding that we have available, I mean, we do make a contribution towards ensuring that some of the conditions that are required of us are met. But it's a drop in the ocean, to be honest.
Peter, we've got a few slides to show.
Yeah.
We've unfortunately got to go and have a race meeting somewhere else. So let's go and have a look at what race we've got, and we'll be back to have a look at a couple of Peter's slides and get further into this discussion. Right, well, Peter, let's go straight into your slides. You put up 4 slides, and I think we should run through them so that people out there have an idea of where you guys are and how you've got there.
Yeah, look, I think the purpose of the slides is that these are the parameters that we work within. You know, it doesn't change. Everybody's seen them before. But I think just for the sake of just reminding people how we operate, I think perhaps it's worth just looking through them quickly. And we'll sort of really focus on certain areas as opposed to sort of try and go into detail with each one. So the first slide really is about what we spoke about now. It is government to government.
Yeah.
They negotiate protocols, and the protocols are basically built on the principles which are described in the OIE, the World Organization for Animal Health. So each disease will have a specific set of guidelines. Protocols are then drawn up around those principles. And AHS is obviously one of their main focus areas. It's had numerous changes. And I think if we look at the protocol, the first protocol we ratified was with the European Union. That was in 1997. It was built around the principles in the 1990 code. There have been multiple changes subsequently to the code. So really the European Union protocol with South Africa is a 23-year-old piece of legislation.
Well, that's the point. Surely it's outdated.
It is outdated.
And can it not be changed?
What we understand is that the European Union is going to be reviewing all their import conditions within the next 2 years. And it is possible that they will incorporate the whole of the new code for horse sickness, or parts of it. At the moment, their system is based on the 1990 code, which was actually drawn up as a consequence of the 1989 Spanish outbreak, when they had the Barcelona Olympic Games, and they needed to find a way of moving those horses in and out. So they came up with the concept of regionalization. They created a free area from which horses could move freely and then obviously be re-exported.
That seems to be one of the biggest problems that we have, the free area, because there seems to be no control as to horses going into the free area. Horses, donkeys, anything that you like.
So I think perhaps if your guys put up the second slide, because that gives us how we can export. And this is defined by the OIE, partly, 1 and 2. The free area, regionalization, you define an area of freedom, and then you maintain that freedom and you prove that you've maintained freedom. And I think that's where we failed in terms of the recent outbreaks. I think we probably need to consider why the current free zone simply hasn't worked. I mean, we've had 5 or 6 outbreaks.
Well, why it hasn't worked? Because it's impossible to police.
So
we know that.
Yeah.
You know that as well.
We've got a huge area with multiple entry points. We've got a population of 15,000 equids, including donkeys
So let's get rid
and
of
zebra.
the free area.
Now, you have to look potentially, what we will be leading towards in future discussions, is to look for a free area which we are better able to maintain.
Well, surely
where it is, we don't know.
Surely the free area should be the quarantine station.
Well, that's the second point. You can either export from a free area and prove your freedom, and then you can export quite freely. Secondly, you can export from an infected area. If you consider that Africa deemed infected by the world, whether it's Nigeria or South Africa, the fact of the matter is that we're endemic. Okay. So exporting from the infected area means a lockdown quarantine station. That's horses will be locked up. Currently, the new code allows for a quarantine period of 14 days, and which has made that option viable. I think locking horses up for a long period of time without any access to normal exercise and normal atmospheric environment is possibly not very good for them. But the 14-day quarantine...
There are, just on that point, and I'm sorry to butt into you here, but on that point, there are ways, we've come a long way in training horses whereby we can put them in an area and we can keep them exercised. You've got treadmills, you've got horse walkers, you've got those type of things. So make an area, which is a lockdown area, put in the facilities that you need, put the horses in there, and let them stay there. We've now got this test. What's it, the PCR?
PCR.
Yeah.
So that second concept has become seriously viable now that we've got a reduction in quarantine to 14 days in conjunction with the PCR test. It's not yet validated. That's taken time that we didn't expect to take.
It was meant to be validated in May as far as...
well, it was supposed to have gone through a number of hurdles, but you know, with a lot of these things, situations arise. The first was that our laboratory at the Faculty of Veterinary Science wasn't approved by the Department of Agriculture. That's now been done. Because you're sending live virus overseas, there are certain import conditions to meet, and it appears that most countries will want those samples irradiated, which is another thing that's delayed us. The money's there, everything's ready to go. So we're expecting that to now proceed, hopefully with the pace that's required. But as going back to the exporting from an infected area, it's a lockdown facility. It's basically a sealed unit. It's probably between a 40 and 50 million rand investment. It almost certainly needs to be either at the airport, in other words, that you can load horses.
It's got to be at the airport,
absolutely,
I would have thought.
Yeah, in order to not break the seal. So if basically what you're saying to importing countries is that you start your quarantine and you maintain vector protection until delivery in the importing country. So but with that comes a degree of risk. Not every country is expected to accept those principles. Even though it's written into the code, it still requires countries to actually partner you and agree that the risk profile is acceptable. If you think of what the world believes Johannesburg to be, that's the obvious place to put this quarantine because you've got access to scheduled freighters. They deem Johannesburg to be completely infected with African horse sickness. Seasonality, unfortunately, has been completely removed from the OIE principles. Whereas we know on a practical level, every year there's a period where the horse sickness just disappears.
Am I not reading it correctly now by saying to you on what you've just said to me, we can't be lobbying correctly because seasonality has got to be a factor. We know in the winter there are no horse sickness midges. There is no horse sickness in the winter on the Highveld. So surely, where's our lobby?
Well, it's not only, as I said, the principle of surrounding seasonality is doesn't only pertain to horse sickness. It covers other diseases like blue tongue, which is also carried by the Coolie-Cordis midge. And I think why they removed seasonality is because blue tongue emerged in northern parts of Europe, which never expected before, which meant that there were pockets of this midge that seemed to survive in microclimates. The fact of the matter is that, despite...
Was it not in their summer?
No, it occurred in much later in the year or sort of during the colder months.
Where did that blue tongue come from?
Well, they say that it parachuted into Europe. They don't know, to be honest. It just emerged. And I think nature has its way, and the fact of the matter is that the scientists who make up this environment decided that seasonality wasn't something you could rely on, if you could prove it. Because the fact of the matter is what you're saying is that there's no midge. The midge disappears, and you cannot say that in South Africa. You'd have to prove that the midge simply disappeared, and you could prove that it disappeared. So it's not straight. I don't think we're not going to win that battle. Seasonality is off the table. We have to deal with exporting from a free area or from an infected area. The lockdown facility is clearly viable, assuming that trading partners will accept horses from that. And part of our strategy would obviously be to incorporate their thinking into the planning of that.
Peter, the Americans accept a lockdown facility, but they have a 2-month quarantine period. Is it not worth trying to work on that type of model? We now, as you say, we've got this test, which 24 hours we can have an answer. They go in there, be tested before they're about to leave. If they're clear, they've been in lockdown, get on the aeroplane and leave.
Yeah, the only difference between America and the OIE principle of accepting horses from an infected area is that they do it post-arrival. So they send your horses. There'll be minimal pre-export conditions. I'm doing a project for a local trainer to see what it would...
At the end of the day, it's got to be the same concept.
It's exactly the same concept.
Lockdown is lockdown.
Yes.
Okay.
One is pre-export, the other is post-arrival.
Yeah.
And you cannot force countries to accept the American system. The Americans have done it because they're a practically minded nation. They didn't want to accept risk from exporting countries, so they say, send your horses, we'll lock them up. If they're alive after 60 days, then they're free to go. Obviously, there's an initiative to get the post-arrival quarantine period in America in line with the new code. But again, that's a legislative process that's going to take at least 2 years to get right. Robin Bruss is pushing like crazy, and there's been there's cooperation behind the scenes through the diplomatic channels. But again, because it's legislated, it's going to take time. So that leaves us with Mauritius, and I think we need to dwell on that because some people believe that it is going to provide a long-term solution. Obviously, that's where all our horses go through now. Mike's horses, spent the 90 days on the island swimming and carrying on whatever they do. And that is based on the fact that Europe accepts horses from Mauritius after 90 days. Mauritius, based on a meeting that I had with their veterinary services, we're going to apply for their OIE freedom, which, if it is successful and they can maintain it, does open up Mauritius as a serious alternative. Because based on their freedom, they can then negotiate with Singapore or Hong Kong or wherever else in the world to export directly from Mauritius. But until such time as the OIE declares freedom in Mauritius, it's still going to be a long-winded route.
Still 90 days, even if they
declare
freedom.
Correct. No, 90 days might be very different because then countries are potentially willing to negotiate the length of residency. South Africa will ship them on the basis of the code. It could be 14 days. They'll arrive in Mauritius, and then each country will have a different way of interpreting what residency they require. And I think if you look at shipments into Dubai through Mauritius, they only require 30 days in Europe. Hong Kong requires 60, Singapore requires 90, can you believe it? But that is only viable if Mauritius is able to get their freedom. And that's going to be determined, I think, now, if they have proceeded with their application. We, of course, have no influence over them. We can offer to help and provide scientific input, but at the end of the day, Mauritius, as a country, will be applying for freedom to the OIE.
Are there no other islands that have freedom?
Look,
there are islands dotted all over the ocean.
You've got to have infrastructure. You've got to have an airport.
It's going to cost money anyway.
Anyway, wherever you go, there's no silver bullet to solve this problem. The South African context could be assisted if, for example, South Africa decided that the Olympic Games was one of their strategic decisions that they took. Because then they would have to satisfy the import and the return of horses conditions for the equestrian component. But again, that goes back to a free area. I think that, to be honest with you, we'll land up with an intensive workshop next year to consider and finally make a decision which way we're going to move. The logical way forward, in some respects, is to export, is to set up that lockdown facility at an airport.
Well, that sounds to...
Because you remove a few things. You remove reliance to a large extent on veterinary services. Because what you're verifying is then the scientific principles surrounding vector protection, that your positive pressure is in place, that you have sealed it, and you can verify the science as opposed to having veterinary services having to audit all the processes of movement controls and surveillance and everything else that goes with it. Then it is about science and about testing. So your blood test that you run at the end of the quarantine period, if that comes up negative, and you've proven and your trading partners are happy that loading horses onto jet stores which are sealed, taking them to the aircraft, still under seal, into the aircraft, sealing up, and off they go. The only breach that potentially could be there is that you've got the loading of horses from end of quarantine to delivery onto the aircraft. But again, there's been some science based on how you can properly seal a jet store. It's a huge investment, but I think if we consider the money that we're losing currently as a country, that there would be willing partners to actually, and government have already assured us that there is funding towards that. It has to be on the basis that your trading partners are buying into it from concept base.
Who's lobbying for that with our trading partners?
Well, look, we're all talking to the veterinary platforms that exist, whether it's Dubai, Singapore, Hong Kong. And of course, we have very good relationships through our operator, the base, the PGE, selling television product between Singapore and others. So there's not as though there's a lack of, it needs a South African solution, which means unified behind a system and the strategy and funding, and that we proceed hell-bent, and including government. And I can tell you right now, DAF, or agriculture, are very, very supportive of South African industry, equine industry, setting up a lockdown quarantine.
All right, I want to ask you about them and the situation as far as imports are concerned, because we seem to have just as big a problem with imports.
Look, just
What's
from the outset, Racing South Africa as a company and me as an individual, we have very little to do with imports. Obviously, our focus has been exports. We have a relationship with Department of Agriculture, but it's on a professional basis. And I clearly believe that there is a need to resolve the import quarantine. And I think that, as we've put to government before, that if you look at the Kenilworth Quarantine Station as a model, it's effectively a private sector developed and managed facility under the auspices or the guidelines of the veterinary services. It's the model that could be replicated on a national basis. But that will require single-minded focus. It will require jumping through the different departmental hoops, because it's also Public Works, which owns the land and the buildings. And it's getting buy-in. But I think that it is something that now needs to happen as a partnership. And it's not only the quarantine environment. I think every aspect of this country's ability to generate revenue is going to have to be on a partnership basis. Private sector, government partnerships work elsewhere in the world. You look at China, most businesses are actually owned at least 50% by the municipalities. It's not a bad model.
Peter, let's move on to more pleasant things as far as you're concerned. You've got a client base of overseas clients, mainly Eastern people, who we saw quite prevalent at the ready-to-run sale. What is the feedback from these guys?
Look, number one, under Racing South Africa, we have the South African Equine Trade Council. It's a non-profit company. It's funded partly by Racing South Africa as industry and the shareholders that flow through Racing South Africa, and secondly by the Department of Trade and Industry. And we're one of 26 export councils. So they recognize horse exports as a growth area. So as our mandate is to promote our bloodstock abroad, of all breeds, not only racing. Yeah. Secondly, to bring in foreign investors, and then obviously to grow exports. Those are the three pillars of that organization. But we've got a lot of friends out there and who want to engage and want to export horses, but also see the fact that, the 90-day Mauritian scenario with all its costs and risks is probably not, the easiest way to import horses. So this particular group that came out from Hong Kong and invested at that ready-to-run in Joburg really took a view that they want to buy horses, race them locally. It's the cheapest place in the world of any serious racing designation, jurisdiction, and to take out the good ones. So Robert Chung and Norman Wu and Dr. Michael Tang, the first time he was here, as a group that came out this time, bought some lovely horses, and that's their plan. If they get qualified horses, and they'll race them here first, because they've obviously got a permit system in Hong Kong.
In Hong Kong.
And it's either a race permit or it's an unraced, the Griffin. But there's too much risk, I think, in taking an unraced horse out.
So basically what they're going to do is they're going to try and find potential gems here. Yes. And if they are a gem, they'll export them. Like Cerise Cherry has obviously been a very good horse.
Correct. And of course, Tony Millard has got a number of his clients that have imported horses. So look, it's part of our role, and I think that there's a huge opportunity to encourage foreign owners to invest here. As I say, it's the cheapest place in the world to prove that a horse is good enough. And the more people that have got horses that need to get out, Mr. Gua, as you know, the mainland Chinese gentleman that has a couple of horses with Dennis, and Des has got a couple for him, and he's breeding. He's got a stallion now called Eightfold Path. Yeah. He's got 20 horses now. That one day, when China makes the right moves in terms of their racing, he's going to want to get those horses out. So trade, I think we go back to that first slide. Trade actually determines protocol. If there's demand for a product, the technocrats who don't want to do anything where there's risk will be forced into a position where they need to make a deal. And China is an interesting scenario because Hong Kong falls under them. Yeah. And if Beijing decide that they want to import horses from South Africa, Hong Kong will have to fall in line.
Well, unfortunately we're out of time, but I just want to finish with the thought, and this seems to have been what's come out of our discussion today. Up till now, we have never really talked about a lockdown process, because we have the methodology to be able to test them properly now and get a reading back within 24 hours on the test. Are you able to, in your position as Racing South Africa, to try and get this thing done?
Look, it is certainly a priority of ours, and we're doing a scoping exercise now. Between the two companies, we agreed that the Trade Council would reduce its international activities this year and put money into an export-related project, which is this. So we're doing a scoping exercise. The initial estimation, as I said, is between 40 and 50 million, based on a 51 stable sort of volume. It's going to be a hanger scenario. Yeah. But then I think that, we need to consider that there have been a number of other processes that have taken place since the Marmray outbreak, the Milk Boss outbreak, and we had a consultation with an Australian-based veterinary group to look at the surveillance scenarios. They've come up with proposals. We had a workshop with agriculture in December. The Bev Zietsman and Alan Guthrie went to the International Movement of Horses Committee, where they had some very intensive discussions with trading partners. You probably have heard of the high performance profile. where horses of a higher status are trying to be able to be moved more freely. This is driven by FEI on the sports side. It's driven by the International Federation and the OIE. There's a workshop in Hong Kong. And then we're going to have an intensive 2-day workshop where we will invite people who can make a contribution towards ultimately spitting out a very strong strategy. But we have to be unified and we have to fund it.
Peter, it's fascinating talking to you. We could talk for a lot longer than this. Unfortunately, time restraints get us. But thank you very much for all the work that you've done. It looks like we're trying to get moving in a direction. Certainly after I spoke to you, I think a year ago, or just over a year ago. And it's very difficult to get around these things. But you've done a wonderful job, and certainly you kept our name out there with the Eastern people. And keep it going.
Yeah, no, thanks, James. And I just want to wish everyone a happy festive season and enjoy the holidays, and we'll crack on in the new year.
There we go. Peter Gibson, CEO of Racing South Africa. And it's fascinating how difficult this problem is and how many facets there are to it. It seems now that money might be a major priority as far as getting a lockdown section concerned. And we look forward to seeing with interest how the rest of the world allows us or does not allow us to bring our horses into their racing spheres. From me, James Goodman, and the whole Winning Ways team, I hope you've enjoyed the show.